The way that I would explain this problem to third graders would be by giving them real world shapes and examples to match like the pattern blocks and the fraction tiles and then the shapes, because I know that for me it's really hard for my brain to grasp the concept of fractions, and the only way that I am able to think about fractions is by thinking about real objects. So first I would have them get their pattern or their fraction tiles, and I would explain that the brown piece would be kind of like a chocolate bar. So then the question is, Brian says that the fraction 1/2 and 1/4 are the same because they both have 1 in the numerator, so they must be equal. So I would begin by saying that the brown tile is 1 full chocolate bar. So then I would ask them to figure out if you broke it in half, what shapes would fit in there. So it should be the yellow ones, because we know that if you broke these two apart, it would create 1 full chocolate bar. And then I would ask them to figure out what shape would fit in 4 times to their full chocolate bar. And then they should be able to get this, and if they don't, then we would work on helping them line things up and trial and error, figure out what shapes work and what shapes don't. And then I would ask them to pull out 1/2 of it and then 1/4 of it, and I'd have them line it up, and then I'll ask them, is this the same shape? Are they the same size? And the obvious answer should be no. So now they have that concept of size in their brains instead of just seeing numbers. And then the way that I would connect this to explaining them to numbers, I would have the fractions up on a board, 1/2 and 1/4, and then I would say, what does 1/2 and 1/4 mean when it comes to the chocolate? So we know that 1/2, we need 2 of these to create 1. So that's where your numbers come in the 1/2. And then for the 1/4, we need 4 of these to create 1 whole. And that's how you get your numbers and your fractions. So that should be a different way for them to look at that. Instead of just saying that the numerators are the same, they should equal the same. So then for the other part where it says Angie says that this is not correct, the 2 fractions 1/4 and 2/4 are the same because both of the numbers have 4 in the denominator. So I would do the same thing but with the shapes, and I would ask them to find a shape that looks like a stop sign. So they should find this one. And then I would ask them what would it look like if you broke it in half? And this is what they should find, because if you get broken in half, this is what a stop sign would look like. So the same thing as a chocolate. How do you break it into fourths? So if a stop sign broke in four different ways, this is what it should look like. And I would make the same connection. I would have them pull out 1/2 of it. So if it broke in half, what would one side of 1/2 of it look like? If it broke 4 times, what would one part of it look like? And then I would ask them to put it side by side and compare, and ask them if that is the same size. Obvious answer should be no. I would do the same, but the thing for hers is that it says 1/4, so we know that this is 1/4 because you broke it into 4 different places, and one of those broken pieces should look like that. But she says that 2/4 are the same because both of the numbers have 4 in the denominator. So when I explain to them that 1/4 means that one of these, four of these should equal a whole, 2/4 should be the same. So 2 of these should equal half of a whole, because I would try to find a way to help them make connection of 2/4 is the same as 1/2, and that's where the number line would help also. So I would have them use their shape to create like a same sized number line as their shape, so they can make that connection. So we know that the chocolate bar we started with, this means 1 full chocolate bar. So then if we line up the chocolate bar and then lined it up to half, we already established that the yellow one was half. They could label it, and they can do 1/2, and then do the same with this one. We already established that that's a 1/4. And then like the video was talking about trying to teach students to count by fractions. So I would have them 0, 1/2, 1/4, 1/2, 1. And then the way that I would help with a misconception of the 2 fractions, 1/4 and 2/4 are the same, I would have them find their 1/4. So we know that their 1/4 is this one. And then I would have them do 2/4 because we have 2 parts of the 4 and then I would ask them what it lines up to, which is 1/2. And we already established that 1/2 and 1/4 are not the same. And then I can also point out that they are in different spots in the number line. And hopefully having those different, 3 different visuals and then connecting them to real world things would help them. And if not, then we would just have to figure out what else we could do if that wouldn't help them. But it kind of depends on a student by student basis.